Hello everyone and welcome to Sambhav Law Success Stories. Today we have Ms. Prema Kurapati with us, who has scored All India Rank 72 in the CLAT PG 2021 paper, and she will be sharing her success story with us. So Prema, firstly, can you introduce yourself for us firstly?
Hi, and thank you for inviting me to share my journey with all of you. So my name is Prema. I have done my undergraduation in law from Amity Law School, Noida. I completed my undergraduation in the year 2020, and then I gave my CLAT PG 2020, wherein I scored an All India rank of 279. And I did my master's in corporate and business law from Gujarat National Law University. Thereafter, I appeared for CLAT 2021 because I wanted to join PSU. So I gave the examination again. And this time I prepared well for it and I scored an All India rank of 72. So that's my story. And currently I'm working with a law firm in Delhi. So, yes.
So Prema, as you mentioned that you have also cleared the CLAT PG 2020 exam. So firstly, can you just take us through the journey as to how you prepared for both these papers and what was the changes that you made in the first paper's preparation and the second paper's preparation?
Okay. So when CLAT 2020 was announced, they announced that there will be a very big change in the pattern. And as we all saw that there was a very big change in the pattern, and I was not quite sure about it. And I was really nervous when I saw the pattern for the first time, because I had never seen such an examination. So to be really honest, I was very scared when I started the preparation. But however, because my basics were very strong back then, that really helped me. So I would just say that your basic understanding of law has to be really strong if you want to score good in your CLAT examination. And I'll be very honest, because the examination kept on postponing due to the pandemic, I stopped studying. So I did not study for the last 2 months or 3 months before CLAT PG 2020. And I did not prepare really well. So when I gave the examination, I got an All India rank of 72 and then I got into GNLU. This year I was more focused. I was very headstrong that this year I will study well, and I directed my preparation like on those lines. Because I had given CLAT 2020, I knew what to expect in 2021. So I would start my day by reading live law, by reading bar and bench, and whatever is in news. So firstly, we have to be well versed with the cases in news, and second most important thing is you have to know the important constitutional cases. So when I was preparing, I made it a point to study all relevant and important constitutional cases, be it on homosexuality, be it on euthanasia. And I was very lucky because this year we had euthanasia in the paper. So that is how I studied for 2021. So it was a very focused and directed and a very narrow study that I took this year. And also, I would also add that you don't need to study for long hours to clear this examination. Choose quality over quantity, study for 5 to 6 hours, but study relevant things which you feel will come in the examination. So it's person to person how you determine which case is very important, and you will get into the habit of recognizing and identifying important cases as in when you start studying, as in when you revise. So that's it.
Yeah. So like Prema, in your opinion, if I ask you, like if we compare the 2022 paper, 2020 paper and the 2021 paper, which paper had a more difficult, pattern, or you would say a more difficult way to attempt it? And what do you think that helped you the most in your improving your rank mostly?
For me personally, CLAT 2020 was very difficult because of the change in pattern. 2020 had a very different scheme of questions than 2019, and we were used to doing 2019 MCQ questions, and we were not in the habit of reading long judgments. So for me to be able to identify important paragraphs, to identify relevant case laws was the most difficult task. But when I started preparing for 2020, I had a certain idea that these are the type of questions that the consortium will ask. For example, you have to focus more on constitutional law because a lot of questions do come from constitutional law. So I feel that 2020 was difficult and 2020 was much easier for me.
Okay. Like, and after that, if I ask about the recent case laws, because as we have seen the trend in the CLAT PG 2020 paper and the 2021 paper, that the emphasis upon recent case laws has been too much. So in your case, what was your method, your approach as to preparing the recent case laws?
Okay. So the first thing that I did was I read all the important judgments which were in the news or which were out there. So, for example, Babita Punya judgment or the Navy judgment. So these judgments were in the news. So every law student is expected to know these judgments. Also, I did follow one important thing in my preparation. I made it a point to know all the important judgments of 2021 and of 2020. So I made it a point to read, understand, and identify all the cases which were very much in the limelight or which changed the course of law, something which is changing the law. So you have to focus on that. Then, when I was preparing for 2020, the major problem was that I was unable to understand, how do they expect us to read so many judgments? They don't expect you to read all the judgments or Keshwananda. They don't do that. You need to just understand that, just take a timeline. For example, for me, I read 2021, I read 2020 very thoroughly. Then I made it a point key, okay, fine, if I have to read 2017 judgment or 18 judgment or 19 judgment, I will not focus a lot of my time. I will just focus 80% of my time on it. But when I'm doing 2020, I will focus 100% on it. So you have to identify the case laws in that manner. Try to look for cases which have changed the course of law, which are relevant to matters. And also, it is very important, when you are doing a case, make it a point that you read the cases that have come before it also. So, for example, in this year they asked us about euthanasia, but you should know about the cases relating to right to die, Gyan Kaur. You have to know those. So make it a point that you study the previous related judgments as well, and also you study the sections or the statutes that is mentioned in the case. Just don't do it in a manner, just don't do it in a manner that you know the facts of the case. You should be knowing the law. That is the main thing here.
Okay, like apart from that, Prema, if I talk about the paper of CLAT PG 2021, as you all know that in CLAT PG 2020, the major focus was upon recent case laws. But when you went inside the examination hall and when you started to do the paper for 2021, what was your first impression after seeing the paper as the pattern changed in that also 20 paragraph compared to 12? What was your first expression seeing that?
My first expression was that it's really lengthy. That was my first reaction. My second reaction was when I started looking at the case laws, I said, oh, okay, fine, my strategy has worked. So basically, I knew majority of the cases. I had studied majority of the cases, and the trick was very simple. Just read the case which has changed law or which is in the limelight. Just do that. The third thing that I felt while doing my PG paper was the fact that I had not studied the sections, I had not studied the statutes apart from the case law. So what I did was, when I'm studying a judgment, I am reading the judgment, I am also studying the sections which are mentioned in it. But I'm not studying the law, right? I'm not going to the book and I'm studying every single section there. That was my mistake that I made. For example, they asked us which section defines void contract, and at that moment I could not get the answer because I was not very sure. And plus, they have negative marking scheme, so you can't take any risk in that way. So that was the mistake that I made, and that I felt that, okay, fine, you have to know the statutes as well. So whatever is your whatever is your statutory part, whatever is the prescribed syllabus, be mindful that you keep in mind the sections also. So your preparation for 2022 has to be a blend of 2019 and 2020 as well. So both you have to mix and then you have to study, which I did not do because I was just focused on cases this year.
Yeah, so Prema, accordingly, if I ask you one more question regarding the whole examination and everything, so if you start today, that you say that today I will start preparing for CLAT PG 2022, if you start today, what will be your strategy which you employ in order to score great in the next year's paper, which will be held in the month of May, if you start today?
So if I start today, I will first search all the important case laws that have happened in 2021, the entire year. I will also look at 2020 because that's just one year ahead. And then I will also make it a point that I study 2022 judgments as well as we go into the next year. So if I'm giving the exam in May, I will study the cases in January, February 2022 as well. Then I will look into constitutional law cases, which is very important. All those cases I will look into. Plus, I will also, brush up on my static parts, on my sections and all the static part of my syllabus. So if I start today, I would probably start from the static portion. I will cover the static portion first. Then I will cover my case laws, because I will wait till 2022. I will see what are the judgments that are coming out in 2022, because the pattern has shown they will ask you the case. They will definitely ask you a case from that year. You have seen that in 2020. You have seen that in 21. So they are going to ask you one or two cases from the year also. So I'll make it a point to study the static part first.
Okay, definitely. Very well. Like, I think so that this particular point is very important, that you need to focus upon the very recent case laws that have come inside the year of 2022, because as we saw in the case of CLAT PG 2021, the topic of CRPC was very important. So Sushila Agarwal case, or these
Yes.
type of things, bail provision or the contract, they were very in focus and very important when it comes to the CLAT PG 2021 pattern. So same thing applies to 2022 as well. Now, if I talk about our contribution in your preparation, so can I just ask, like, as to how Sambhav law inspired and helped inside your preparation, and helped you out securing such a good rank?
So I would love to thank Sambhav Law for helping me in my preparation, because I mean, what happened was I will start studying cases, and it's not possible for a person to read big judgments. It's not humanly possible. So I remember when the channel was started, I watched one of your videos. I was really impressed. So I would, go to your videos, and I would understand the case from your lectures. Then I would visit your website, where you did upload a lot of cases and judgment analysis you would upload. So I would read that, I would print that, I would study from that. So whatever the bigger, whatever judgments were very big for me, I would go to your Sambhav Law, and I would do my preparation. I also subscribed to your mock tests, which were very, very helpful, because as a student, as a candidate, you tend to focus on what you feel is important. So there were a lot of judgments that I would just leave. Okay, fine, this is not important for me because I don't think it's important. But when I would give your examination, I would give your mock test, those questions would come up, and then I would solve them, and obviously I could not score good. So I would go back to the judgment, I would read that judgment, I would understand the case, I would understand the section which was involved, and then I would prepare like that. So that also helped me a lot. Plus, I would give the mock test during 2 to 4 p.m., which was the CLAT timing. So in that way, when you give your examination in that particular time, your brain is more activated when you give the actual examination. So that was also really helpful.
And like, apart from that also, Prema, if I ask about your experience, you went to, as you said, you went to JNLU. So how was your experience during your PG course there in that college? How was the environment, and how were all the things that went through and happened?
So a PG course is very different from a UG course, because it's a post graduation. So you are expected to be adults, and you are expected to know a lot of things, right? And the course was very different in the sense that you have to write research papers, you have to research on law, you have to make submissions. So in that way, I would say that it really changed my writing. It really improved my analytical skills, my speaking skills. A lot of skills did get improved. When I visited, because of the pandemic, it was online most of the time, but I did have an opportunity to visit GNLU in person, and the campus was wonderful, the people were wonderful. I loved my hostel. I did not miss my home even for a single day. The food, the mess, everything was so good. uh, they were so friendly, everybody there in the staff. My faculty was amazing, brilliant teachers, brilliant research, and amazing library. So I enjoyed every bit of it, even though I spent only one month there because of the second wave. But let me tell you, I enjoyed every bit of NLU, and I loved the entire experience of being in NLU, and I wish it had lasted longer, but it was nice.
So, Prema, apart from that, if I ask you, what tips would you like to give to the future candidates who are going to prepare for the CLAT PG examination?
Okay. So the first and the most important tip from my side would be revision is the key. always revise. So if you are studying for 5 hours a day, take for 5 hours, you make it a point that you revise half an hour at least. So whenever I used to start studying, I would always revise the cases or whatever I had studied a day before. So you revise properly, nicely. It is a human, it's very human that you forget things, and it's going to happen, but revision will make it sure that you remember the most important aspects, right? Also, what I did for my revision, I made two notebooks. The first notebook had all the entire judgment in small crisp format, and I used to write my notes. I did not do it on laptop. I used to write it. So my first notebook had case, the entire judgment, the synopsis, important sections, all of those in written, and it would be a little big. I made a second notebook for revision purpose, and I made it a point that every judgment that I put down will not be more than 1 page. So just, summarize what is the important thing that they're saying. Be mindful of the bench. What was the bench? How many judges were there? Who were the judges also is important. Then what section was involved? That is very important. So these are the things that you have to keep in mind while you make your revision notes, and try to make them really short, so that at the day of the examination you can just look at it and you will just remember what it was. The second thing which is very important is give mock tests, and make it a point that you give mock test during the hour that the examination is going to be conducted. So if it's from 2 to 4, then you give your mock test from 2 to 4. And if the mock test is small, give 2 to 3 mock tests in that period. So what I used to do is I used to just give tests during that time. I would not study, I would not sleep, I would not eat, only give your examination. That is very important. The third thing is dedicated efforts and hard work will always work for you. Do not make the mistake that I made in 2020. I stopped studying for 2 months, and that was really wrong on my part. So always keep on studying, and also don't overburden yourself. I would say you don't need to study for 8 to 10 hours a day. No, this examination does not require so much of studying. Study for 5 hours, 6 hours. When you are reaching the examination, when you're closer to the examination, if you start now, study for 2 to 3 hours. And when you are when you are just 1 month away from the examination, make it a point that you go out, walk, take fresh air, be relaxed. Don't try to mug it up, because it's not going to help you. It's very important that you don't mug up the judgments. That will not help you. Try to understand the judgment. Try to understand why it is relevant for you, why is it relevant for the society. So that way you can identify the important judgments. And yes, and have faith in yourself and confidence. So
No,
that's
yeah, so I would say that the last point is very, very important, that you need to have faith in yourself, because you have prepared for this paper for so long, you have put in so much effort and faith into it. So you need to have that faith in yourself when you're going inside that examination. And that is a very, very relevant and important point, if I would say.
yeah.
No, yeah, definitely.
Just have faith, confidence, and if I can do it, you can do it. If I can do it twice, and then you can do it easily. So I would just, this is my message to everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And like apart from that also, Prema, if I talk about your preparation, the whole journey of it, what do you think were the main pitfalls? What were the main shortcomings that you think happened, that if you could have not committed those things, your rank would have been a bit better, or your preparation could have been done in a very mature or better manner?
If I talk about 2020, my biggest problem or the downfall was that I did not study the last 2 months. I did not focus on it. So that I did cover up in my 2021 examination. In 2021, what I did not do was, I did not study the static portion of the syllabus. I did not study the part which was which I had to know, or which was asked in 2019. I did not do that. I was very focused on 2020. I was focused on the judgments. I was focused on sections which were in the judgments, but I did not do the entire syllabus. So I would say that if you are starting now, start from the static part. Start reading or start understanding the static portion of your syllabus first, and then you can jump on to the judgments. So that is my advice.
Okay, definitely. And I thank you so much, Prema, for giving us this interview. We thank you so much for your contribution towards the preparation of all the students, and you have guided them so much today with such insightful things and comments with which you have given us. So I thank you so much for being a part of this whole thing and giving this interview. And I thank you so much. And I think so. This will be the end of the interview.
Thank you for having me.